All right, there. Anytime.
Hey, half a day, you're listening to the 671 show with guest stars.
Yes, I am the guest star.
This is episode 3. We have Vince Paris from Toys in the Attic and his guest,
Arthur Paris.
Arthur Paris. And today's episode, we're going to be covering Dungeons and Dragons and the origins. Hopefully, get into some character creation with the different types of Dungeons and Dragons character sheets, because it's a little different. Everything's a little different, and we'd like to dedicate this.
Yeah, we want to, because growing up, we had two great friends of ours who have passed away, and they were our dungeon masters. And I want to shout out and dedication to our friends Danny Afflegui and Christopher Gumatato, who's also known as Bear. And we had many hours playing games with them, the dungeon games, and some cool campaigns. And this one's for you guys. May you guys rest in peace.
Yep. Okay, so let's talk about the origins of Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons was started by an individual by the name of Gary Gygax. They used to play tabletop war games. One they played was called Gettysburg, and the original tabletop games were miniatures. So
No, nothing.
wait, I want to see what you guys see.
No, there's an ad. I don't know why there's an ad for KFC breakfast menu.
Popped up on your camera.
It popped up on your camera. I don't know why.
I know.
It's just
Hey,
weird.
hey, that
It's not on the screen.
It's not on the screen. It's just on the
the
camera.
algorithm is good because I am hungry. So going back, so Gettysburg was a tabletop game that Gary Gygax played. So a lot of his friends were into these. These were like tabletop. Like if you see on the screen, it's actually they would do miniatures, war miniatures, and they will fight against each other. And this was the first. They were tabletop war type games, miniatures. So
Oh, is that why it's called Gettysburg?
Yeah.
After the battle. Okay.
yes,
Got
after
it.
that. So then
Well, they were doing that. They were doing that way back. War games were something that.
yeah, it was a popular game.
yes.
Yeah. So you see, in even movies, people are making miniatures.
Yeah.
You see, of like the Revolutionary War. So Gary and his has a friend. What's his name? Jeff. I say Pearson. They wrote a book, or they wrote a game called Chainmail. And Chainmail was more of the medieval type miniature role playing tabletop games, or tabletop games. We'll get into role playing. So no, not this one. This is the actor. So if you type in Chainmail, it should show Chainmail tabletop game. So as they were playing, some of his friends got bored with just the regular medieval, and they were very into Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien, and so he wrote a supplement, fantasy supplement, where he got a lot of inspiration from Tolkien. So you see, like they'll have like wizards and other things in Chainmail.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the Chainmail game, right? And who's the other one that created it with him? It'll say that's the original Chainmail right there. So it's Gary Gygax and Jeff Perrin. My bad, Perrin. So, so they did that. So like I said, but Gary Gygax was more into sword and sorcery like Conan, but he just did it because his friends and they did Tolkien. So you'll see a lot of Tolkien-inspired characters and all that. So he actually had characters named hobbits, dwarves, and all that. So as we go on, he writes with another. He created a con called Gen Con, where they meet a lot of people, and I'm forgetting what's the guy's name. I think it's Dave. I think it's either Dave Arson or Dave Wisley that they met, and they wrote like a battleship called "Don't Give Up the Ship." Tabletop war game. So as they were going on, they met another guy. So that guy, David Arson, met with another guy, Wisley, and they created another game called Blackmore. And using inspiration from Chainmail, and they created Blackmore. Blackmore was more of oh no, I'm jumping ahead. So
yeah. What year was this?
This is in 1967. So Gettysburg.
Okay, I wasn't even born yet.
Yeah. So this was on 1967. Chainmail came out in 1971. So when Chainmail, I'm jumping a little bit. So there was another game called Bernstein. So that one, this is where in that game, not only do you control characters for like like war, like fighters and all, they also have, you can create like banks. You can be a banker. You can be a farmer. So therefore, you can take a different role. So therefore, that's where the term role playing came in.
Yeah. It's kind of like where the basis of like World of Warcraft.
Yes.
Yeah. It's where they got it all from.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So from that one, another type in Blackmore game.
Blackmore top.
Yeah, Blackmore game of rope. Yeah, Blackmore.
Blackmore.
Two O's.
More.
More. Yeah. Blackmore. Okay, so that's Blackmore, and it is. Who's the? There. I'm trying to figure out who's the one that created with him, or Black. Can you type in Blackmore creator? Tabletop.
Oh, that's a recent picture. Everyone's wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Who's
Dave
that?
Arneson and Wesley. So what happened is his co-writer or his drafted or went active duty. So what they did is were narrators. They narrate the games. They'll really control the game where it goes, and this is what led to the earlier Dungeon Masters. So when Wesley, I'm mispronouncing his name. I apologize. I'm probably gonna get crucified for this later. Left. He didn't want to. Arneson didn't want to do the games by himself, so he created Blackmore, and they started writing it. And then they created another game called Dungeons. So Gary Gygax saw Dungeons, and he liked it a lot. So they were talking to, at this time, Gideon Games was the ones who published Chainmail. But Gideon Games didn't want anything to do with Dungeons. Didn't like the idea of Dungeons. So Gary Gygax created a company called Tactical Studies Rules, which we all know now as TSR.
Yeah. Oh, is that what TSR means?
Yeah.
Tactical Study Room? Okay.
So then they took Dungeons and they created and made it Dungeons and Dragons. The earlier Dungeons and Dragons came out in 1974, but what sucked about Dungeons and Dragons is it only came out with three books, but you needed Chainmail to play it.
Why Chainmail? Why?
Because you had to use a lot of the rules and stuff from Chainmail to play the game.
Well, see, when I grew up, and
This was the first edition.
Played, yeah, when
Yeah,
I
this
played
is the first
with Dan
edition.
and stuff, we used graph paper
Yeah.
and we built our dungeons.
Oh, I'm gonna get into that because it's gonna get interesting when we get into that part.
Like dungeon model making.
Yeah, total dungeon. Like, okay, you go into a room. There's 3 doors. Which one do you go to?
Yeah. Oh, so I'm gonna get into that because before Dungeons and Dragons was just sandbox.
Yeah.
Dungeon crawlers. You just go in, fight the dragon and all that. So now I'm going to go into I'm going to kind of jump over to Dragonlance. So Tracy Hickman and his wife Laura Hickman. Tracy's wife Laura was into Dungeons and Dragons. There was one time he came home from the airport, waited for hours for his wife to pick him up. She never picked him. When he borrowed a bike, went home, found out she was playing Dungeons and Dragons, and literally forgot about him.
I've been there.
Oh yes,
I've gotten yelled
I
at.
remember that. You actually forgot your wife one time. Oh my god. Oh my god. Those were the days.
Those are the days. That was funny. Those
So-
are good games.
Yeah. So Tracy and Laura. So Tracy was hurting for money, so he started writing modules for games for Dungeons and Dragons. So he wrote several modules that actually caught the attention of what was his name? I think David Gray someone from TSR saw it and invited him over to come and sell some more modules to them. So on their way to, because he's coming from, I believe he's coming from Utah, Oregon. So
Well, explain what a module is, because
So-
people aren't going to get what the hell is a module.
So modules are almost like supplementals to the main game, and modules are like like when we're talking about graph papers or designs and stuff. So it's like additions or like
This is a new dungeon.
yeah,
Like add-ons.
yeah, to the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're modules.
Yeah.
So while he was in where we were driving, him and his wife was thinking, they came up with an idea of a whole kingdom where the knights rode on dragons.
Yeah.
Where it's all dragons.
Yeah, Dragonlance.
Yeah, Dragonlance. This is so they came up with the idea of Dragonlance. So when they got there to TSR, it's so funny because at the same time the product manager, I was saying, when they saw this concept, they kind of liked it because they say, well, you know what? We have a lot of dungeons, but not enough dragons.
Yeah.
So kind of not living up to their name, Dungeons and Dragons. So they liked the idea. So at the same time, Dragonlance was actually, they were trying to get books, make books based on the games that they're playing and the stuff. So Dragonlance, they came up with 3 concepts of good, evil, 3 main characters in the Dragonlance stories. So one reason why I'm bringing it up is Laura Hickman was very crucial in this because she's the one that developed actual storytelling in the D&D world.
Okay.
But she doesn't get credit for it. Another person named Margaret, God, what was Margaret's last name? Sorry, guys, I'm getting rainbow. Wait, let me see if I can find Margaret's last name. Margaret Weiss. So Margaret Weiss was brought in to help find an author to write these stories. So what they basically did was they wrote books based on the campaigns of the games, so that when you play it, another thing too with Dragonlance, it's already pre-generated characters.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't like that, but it was
Yeah, I
supposed
didn't
to,
like that.
but it was supposed to help the story go along. So they did it so, like, for example, if you're playing the game and you read the story,
Yeah.
like, because one of the characters, Tannis, I believe Tannis is good. So, like, I remember Tannis in the story playing this dungeon, but
Yeah.
I'm going to play it differently than how Tannis did it.
Okay.
Or when they're reading the book, oh, man, I just played that dungeon.
Yeah.
This is so cool. So that was the idea of Dragonlance. And then Dragonlance became part of the Dungeons and Dragons lore. There's other... As we go back to Dungeons and Dragons, like I said, Dungeons and Dragons was so Tolkien-esque that in 1976, the family of Tolkien actually sent a cease and desist letter for them. So they had to change a lot of the characters' names.
Yeah. Yeah.
They used to call their character, they used to have hobbits.
Like how? Yeah.
Yeah, but now they're halflings.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
They changed it.
So they had to change a lot of that names. So
Halflings make more sense to me anyway. Hobbit's kind of like
Isn't halflings in Tolkien?
yeah. No,
Yeah.
they're talking
Or at
about
least
that.
in the movies.
in the well, they're
But I believe halfling is not as trademarked as a hobbit.
Yeah.
Like, like for example, Tomorrow. Tomorrow's a
Yeah.
race. So,
Hobbit's like a Tolkien thing.
it's
Yeah.
kind of like Walking Dead. You don't say zombies.
Yeah.
In Walking Dead.
they never say zombies.
They never say zombies.
Zombies is actually trademarked.
Yeah.
From where's it trademarked?
So,
George Romero.
yeah, I believe George Romero. But
That's so weird.
yeah, right. But yeah, so zombies. So you never once hear them say zombies
Yeah.
in Walking Dead.
Yeah.
They're either called walkers, crawlers. I forgot what the
Sprinters,
Yeah.
joggers.
yeah, all that stuff.
They don't even say undead.
Yeah.
They don't even
just
say undead.
Yeah.
I think undead is reserved for D&D.
What about
Oh, yeah,
What
they're-
about all the other movies, zombie movies?
Well,
There's like Return of the Living Dead. They say zombies.
but
or-
Return of the Living Dead is George Romero.
That's George Romero.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So all these things, Day of the Dead,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
George
That's
Romero.
all George Romero. Yeah, okay.
And that's
So-
the modern retelling, but
Yeah, yeah.
of course it's based on George Romero's material.
Okay.
Back to D&D.
So back to D&D, if you notice, the earlier D&Ds are all human driven.
Yeah.
Like the kick-ass class, because the regular class I remember was Fighting Man. It was Fighting Man, mages, and what was the third one?
Fight? You mean fighter?
Yeah, no, but it evolved into fighter.
Oh, okay.
So the original term was Fighting Man, then it evolved into fighter. But if you had human characters can do anything.
Yeah.
And
They're the
because
most
they were the-
versatile. Even in like WoW.
Yeah, but they were the
Yeah.
weaker race. That's why.
Yeah.
Because if you notice, when you get chose a dwarf or an elf, they already got like
They have
for-
enchantment. Yeah.
Yeah,
they
they
have
have
bonuses.
Yeah, for them
yeah,
being
yeah.
that. But it's in the earlier D&D, you can own, or even in Chainmail, I think the highest they can go up is level 6, where a human can shoot past that. Like in
Yeah.
each class they were in, they could surpass it.
Yeah.
Like they would go higher level, they'll become knights and all that.
Sounds like no one would want to play another race.
Yeah, well-
at that point.
Yeah, no, it's true because you never hear like I'm human orc hybrid.
Human orc hybrid.
Yeah, so you never hear that back then.
Wow.
like now. So there was a novel called, I believe, Three Hearts, Three
Or
Lions.
Kathleen.
And the reason why I'm bringing this novel because this was a lot of D&D was based on this. This is where the concept of chaotic good, evil, and came from because it came from that novel.
Okay.
There was another novel.
Now, what are you that chaotic good? Now that you're referring to is what they call alignment.
Yes.
Right? Now
So-
your alignment is complicated in itself because it's a wide range from lawful good, chaotic good, neutral good, and then there's neutral, and then there's evil, and they also have their own 3 categories. There's true neutral, there's neutral good, there's neutral evil, and there's chaotic neutral. Actually, there's 4. So, and same thing with evil, and so the exact opposite on the spectrum would be lawful evil and lawful good. So
That's it. Lawful Good's the one that Paladin.
paladin,
Yeah,
paladin.
Paladins. It's like my Paladin shirt.
It sounds like a Filipino word. Paladin.
Next to my poverol. So, continuing on, in that sense, is a lot of stuff changed. A lot of the story because originally in the first, it was called the White Box, because Dungeons & Dragons in 1974 came out in a white box with 3. If you could do Dungeons & Dragons white box, will show what I'm talking about. So if you go to the white box, actually sometimes it came in a brown box. So it came with these 3. If you go click on this one, so it came with the 3 of the. It came with the. Arneson is the writer. It came with the rules like the races, the dungeons, and all that. But to create characters, you still need chainmail, and chainmail explained like the wizard or the fighter, and then there's a common term that was used called tackle.
Oh, I think it sounds like that was the beginnings of the player's handbook.
Yes.
So chainmail was the beginnings of the player's handbook.
So, but a lot of people, but they did create where in Dungeons and Dragons that you didn't need chainmail, then you could still play.
Oh.
But chainmail kind of was like the backbone of it, and I don't know if Gary Gygax wanted to keep it because it's his original, but where was
Yeah,
that?
because by the time it got to the 80s, they've kind of combined it all. You had the Dungeon Master's handbook, you had the player's handbook, then you had Dungeon Master's manual,
Yeah,
the player's handbook,
and then
the Monsters Compendium,
yes,
and then what other books there were? Okay, yeah,
there's a lot of supplements.
there's
There's
side
a lot of
books.
supplements that came with. So continuing on. So, like I said, this game evolved a lot. So then in 1980, what Ralph was bringing up, it went from Dungeons and Dragons to Advanced Dungeons and
Yeah,
Dragons,
AD&D.
where the rules changed a lot,
Yeah.
and a lot of things. Like I was saying, like before, like even the spells, like fireball can only be in a certain radius. Lightning can only travel in a straight line, or what else?
Then they started getting more technical.
And then there was the tackle. What does tackle stand for? Armor. Wait, something hit armor area 0, right?
I had that one right there, the
Yeah.
second on the bottom.
Can you do me a favor,
The second, right there to the left, the other way.
Sandro? Can you
Yeah.
type in
I had that book.
tackle role playing game tackle or Dungeon Dragon tackle?
How do you spell
THA seal.
TAHCO?
TH
It's like taco with an H.
THA seal.
CO?
Yeah. And it's an acronym for to hit armor class 0. So I'm bringing that up because the original thing is you need a higher. So the armor is you have to. Anything above an armor class 0 and you roll to damage that armor. And this was a common. I think I'm butchering this right now, and I apologize. But this is one of the things that's part of D&D that's using for the armor class and the weapons used. So the reason why I bring this up is if you have a dagger, you do the same amount of damage to this armor than this is the earlier D&D. Then someone with a broadsword or a mace. So a lot of these were taken into account and changed as the game evolved. And then as the game went into Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, you no longer need the chainmail to be part of this game. So a lot of things were incorporated, a lot of things were changed. And a lot of things were changed too because of the whole thing with token.
Yeah. It's, what I find it interesting is hearing in the States that inmates are playing Dungeons and Dragons, and that in lieu of dice, they pull chest hairs. And the longer the chest hair, then they win that roll. But it's so dangerous because you have real murderers in there. It's like what? What do you mean you killed me? You get shanked.
What happens if you're out of hair?
Right.
Yeah, right.
Like, just
then you pull your local Mexican over and
Hey, senor. So in 1980, Dungeons and Dragons got a lot of.
and it's, by the way, it's illegal to play D&D in prison. So
So in I believe it was 1980, 82 that a female by the name of Paula Pierce started a group against Dungeons and Dragons because her son killed himself. And they,
I remember that.
and they
That's
believe
so-
because he played Dungeons and Dragons that Dungeons and Dragons was a product of Satan.
Oh,
Yeah,
product of
that's
witchcraft.
back
Yeah,
when
you
they were
remember that?
saying that Kiss,
oh no, I believe it. Yeah.
play Kiss's music backwards. That's the
Yeah.
whole era.
So
they're trying to
it was
just
so bad.
demonize everything.
Yeah, it was so bad that they made a movie, a TV movie called Monster and Mazes, which starred Tom Hanks,
Yeah.
showing about how
Tom Hanks?
Yeah,
yes,
it started,
I watched that.
Yeah.
He went
Bring that
crazy
up.
and
Yeah.
he went nuts.
yeah,
What?
They found him in an alley.
yeah.
To him, he was like having an adventure.
He was actually seeing dragons
Yeah.
and seeing demons.
Wait, Tom Hanks was tripping out? Or
Yeah.
Yeah, he was tripping. He was tripping balls. Like,
Just
wow.
try to show the evil of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, and then like in the end, they found him like in like an alleyway. He almost got himself killed or something because he was like hallucinating. He thought like criminals was like demons and orcs or whatever. You know,
And he's like
That's
on the
some
phone.
heavy drugs,
He's
man.
on the phone like, "Help me! They're coming for me!" He's like, "Oh," in typical Tom Hanks fashion. But yeah, it was like and
I gotta see that.
it's pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to play D&D more.
yeah, right. But it was so because they kept. And the same thing with Harry Potter. When Harry Potter came out,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
religions came. Oh, that's witches and
Yeah.
warlocks. And
Man, I remember when I was in 5th grade and my parents were fighting over about me playing that game.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, that's the devil, da 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 da.
Right. Witches
It's just it helps him
Oh, shit,
think.
my power went up.
on your phone.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna take a little break
Yeah.
for technical, and then we'll continue on.
All right.
Okay.
Were they